Hey everybody, it must be July because it is time for the July Maw of Mike. And as you can see, I am Michael Curtis here with my maw as usual. But joining me are some familiar faces that you probably know from around the Goodman Games Twitch channel. I'm not even going to try to imagine where they are relative to my own position. So I will say that we have Chris Doyle and Matt Hildebrand. So hi guys, welcome to the show.
Hey,
Thank you,
thanks for
Mike.
having us.
Happy to be here, Mike.
I'm
Yes.
happy to have you as well. So we've got a lot to go on. We've got a lot of guests here tonight, and a lot of things happening. But so we figured out that we would start things off with Matt and Chris and I talking about something that has been in production for literally a year and a half at this point. So and of course, I am going to talk about we are going into the future. But we're going into the past by going into the future, and we're very pleased to announce that finally, and it seems weird to say this because we say it all the time, and we're like, is that right? But we're going to talk about the 2022 Goodman Games Yearbook, which we will be debuting at Gen Con in just about 3 weeks now. So guy, as from those of you who have never experienced what the yearbook is, it is kind of a not quite a collection of greatest hits, but basically all the stuff we couldn't cram somewhere else. Would you guys say that's about like a fair estimate of what the yearbooks turned out to be?
Pretty much, yes. Yes. It's we overproduce content and our customers benefit from that.
It's as Joe Goodman has described it as being like his what he wants to look back upon when he reaches like great mental decrepitude in his old age. He wants to be able to pull the various yearbooks off the shelf and be like, oh yes, I remember 2018 and all the stuff we did that year and what have you. So we're just basically trying to keep the boss entertained when he's in his golden years. Pretty much, I guess that's our job.
That's one of our jobs. Yes, that's true.
One
One of
one
our
of
many
many.
jobs. Keeping the boss entertained. So
Mhm, mhm.
so yeah, so these it looks like Elena has been showing off at least kind of the cover. This was a very complex book, and it's got a lot of great content in it. This thing, I don't know where to start. I mean, it's just there's so much stuff right here. I mean, I guess the best thing is like it is basically we start off as our obviously retrospective of 2022, which which was a much better retrospective to write about than some of the previous years. I think you guys agree with that. Yeah.
Totally, yeah. So I think the big key, and I think people will see it instantly when they flip through it, is all of the wonderful color pictures from conventions as we made our official return to in-person conventions in 2022. And we really, really, really leaned into that in this in this session. So
You know,
And,
the-
I'll agree with that. There's some at least a handful of photos in this. Maybe a handful from each convention we've gone to, and then about 14 handfuls from Gen Con, because there's a ton of photos in there.
right, because we do snap photos of all the conventions we attend over the course of the years, and some of those get shown on the Good Gauge website as kind of as a retrospective, but other ones just kind of get added to a giant shared folder, and then when things like this Cocos, we go through it, and it's like, oh yeah, I remember that, or I wasn't at that convention. What the heck is Harley doing? I mean, then we decide those are the things we have to make sure we include in the yearbook, so we have photographic evidence of what may or may not have occurred in the previous year. So.
and if I recall, for Gen Con, I think we had over 500 pictures or something like that. It
Mhm.
was we had a crazy number because we asked all of our volunteers and staff and game masters to basically send all their pictures in. So I remember, I think Harley did the first pass through all of the Gen Con pictures, and I think he got it down to about 150 or something like that of like the good quality ones, and taking out all the repeats in it, and then we had to go through the rest and kind of get it down to like whatever a reasonable number was, and then we turn those all over to Matt, because if there's nothing that Matt doesn't like to do more, it's play with pictures and put like live photos in, not live photos, I guess they're dead photos, but to put photos in a book. So that's what I've heard, at least.
Yeah,
So.
that's true story. And then after you narrowed it down a little bit and said, "Here, Matt, these are the best ones. Put these in." Then I showed it to Joe, and he said, "We need more." So then I had to go backwards and add a few more pages. But nonetheless, I think it does a pretty good job of capturing that feel of what it's like to be in the booth and or in the gaming area when you're visiting Goodman Games at Gen Con.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, we could have easily done a release which was nothing but, the Gen Con photo, photo retrospective. And maybe I shouldn't say that too loud, otherwise I'll get an email from Joe. Like, hey, by the way, can we get that ready for Gen Con this year? Can we rep that together in 3 weeks and get that in the printer? You have a week to do that. So, yeah, I mean, we had so many pictures, we literally had to take advanced training in order to figure out how to do this because because Joe has been in the publishing business for a very long time now, and he knows a lot about how a book is laid out, and we don't necessarily know that. And there's certain like tricks of like how to do color pages in like a book this big. So we literally had to like watch videos and take courses and figure out like where the signatures would lie up and like how to organize them so we can do print color front and back image photos on some stuff. And it was quite a feat. And and kudos to you, Matt, because you're the one who actually had to remember that and employ it. Chris and I were just like, we had a vague idea of it, but you're the one who actually had to figure out
we just had to understand the principles. Matt had to actually do it.
Well, luckily I had a little bit of help, but the other thing that's important to remember is there's kind of two versions of this thing, right? There's the print version that has to respect the signatures and the black and white and the color. But if you buy that, you also get the PDF that's color the whole way through. So that's a big bonus and also a little bit more work, but I think it pays off for sure.
It's like the through line of Goodman Game. A big bonus, but a little bit more work. That's a little bit more work for some people than others. It always seems to turn out, though. So yeah. So aside from those big jumbo photos of it, we've got lots of other cool stuff in it. So I don't know. Well, of course, Chris and I, we have our retrospectives. We kind of look back on like where things were going on in the world of DCC, and Chris is covering where things are going in 5e. And of course, Brendan kind of sums up what was going on with the road crew, and Harley chimes in about what was happening with the convention scene and the tournament. And then we have Joe himself just kind of sitting in his chair of darkness and just kind of hey, the company is going good, we're all still employed, everything's working, we got more games coming.
And don't forget, Matt actually had to chime in and talk about the new direction of all the artists that we had too.
Right.
So, yeah, he snuck himself in there in a little sidebar.
Yes, I did. I'm not too proud. No, not at all.
I'm not used to like including you into word monkey stuff.
I know. It was a stretch. I did my best.
But
I think Elena just showed the picture of Joe, and that's probably one of my favorite things about this book.
Oh yeah, Why don't you talk about like the photos of the staff and
Okay.
like what those are and how they came about.
Okay, sounds cool. We need beside our byline, we need a photo of the author who's writing these retrospectives, right? So it only made sense for us to get illustrations of ourselves as wizards, right? What could be more appropriate? So we got artist Aaron Creeder to help out, and we even gave him a little more inspiration. I think Mike, you and Chris, you guys went through some of the old D&D books maybe and found your favorite wizard image, and then sent Aaron a actual photo, and he worked his wizardry to create a series of black and white images of us as wizards. So I am a Errol Otis donut wizard, of course, from way back when, and we got Joe in front of his crystal ball, and et cetera, et cetera. It was a blast to work through those.
Yeah, I think they came out really good. No, it's just you can play along at home once you can pick up a copy of it and figure out like, okay, which one is this from? So
totally the case.
No, but we also have so of course, aside from photos and retrospectives, what's a yearbook without some new adventures? So I'll talk with Chris, why don't you talk about the 5e one a little bit here? I mean,
sure. So the 5e one's actually I'm very excited about it. Secret of the Slayer's Sword. What's really cool about this is like some of the things like when you're doing these things behind the scenes, how you can have a lot of fun with this. So we had Alex Karowski from 20 Sides Every Story wrote the adventure, but it just so happens that his dad does artwork for us. So it's like, hey, why don't we have his dad do the art for it? And he told, when he was on my show a couple weeks ago, he told me this awesome story how he was dropping his little one off at his dad's house to go out and run some errands. And he like peeked over and saw on his dad's easel, he saw like this image, and he looked at it and he said, boy, that looks awfully familiar. What is that? And he kind of took a peek closer, and he's like, I knew exactly what that was from. And he goes, and he was cool. He didn't realize that he did all of the art for it. But that was kind of a really neat thing. So And the cool thing about the it's a very exploring kind of a tomb, like kind of a death trap doom a little bit. Kind of little, it's got a little bit of a Raiders of the Lost Ark vibe in it, which, hello, look at that. You know, we have a new indie movie coming out, so, or came out. So we kind of fit the bill in there a little bit. But it's actually it's a sequel of sorts to FEF number 5, which was originally a free RPG day adventure that we did, oh geez, wow, several years ago at this point now. And there was an NPC in there that was really cool, a half dragon, half Medusa. And she's got like a magic bow and a breastplate of blinking, and basically I recreated the whole Clash of the Titans encounter with her. And it was cool. And she was such a cool, she actually outshone the dragon in the dragon adventure, and everybody remembers that NPC instead. So we had some cool artwork. We were able to send the artwork to Alex and said, design an adventure around this, and he knocked it out of the park. It's short, but it's sweet, and it's got a couple puzzles, got some cool fights, and another really awesome boss battle at the end with the Medusa dragon. So I think it came out really great. So looking forward to it.
And on the DCC side, of course, we have a new DCC adventure in there, well, which I'm not going to talk about yet, but maybe we will get into that before the hour is over. So if you no matter if you're playing 5e, if you're playing DCC, or if you want to adapt either one to your favorite system, you've got 2 new ventures in there. And it wouldn't be a Goodman Games release if we didn't delve into yet more funky dice. Because somewhere along the lines, over the course of the last year and a half, Impact Games says, "Hey, you know what? We can make a D11." So we were like, "Okay," and Joe's just like, "Give me D11 tables." So I think we came up with about 4 or 5 D11 tables on top of that. So if you were at basically the yearbook will be available at the Goodman Games booth at Gen Con. For those of you who are attending, you'll be able to pick it up there live. And then once you're able to pick it up, you'll be able to go like 3 stalls, down the way, go back Impact Miniatures, and be able to pick up a D11 to use using the new tables. So it's perfect synchronicity of stuff.
Yeah, it'll take you 15 minutes to go those 3 stalls because of all the crowds in the room, but you'll get there eventually.
Right. So we have that going on. We have surprisingly, would you believe it? There are no monsters in the book.
Wow, it might, we might have just designed too many monsters. It's entirely possible we over designed, and and again, our mess up is your gain because you get them. So but yeah, no, we actually have more monsters than we can cram into the pages of a 500 or 600 page book. So we have both versions of DCC and 5e in the yearbook. So more monsters, more stuff, which maybe you can use that die-11 with.
Yeah, right. So, so it's it's your usual smorgasbord of stuff, and then speaking of art, we've got some really cool. We got a retrospective, and we also have an interview as well. Matt, why don't you talk us about those?
Yeah. I think the graphic that Elena just showed featured some new artwork by Jeff Easley, of all people, which is, that should sell it on its own. But beyond that, like you said, Mike, we did an in-depth interview with San Julian, who has done a few covers for some of the bigger books more recently, the Crypt of the Devil Lich, and some other a bunch of fantastic covers for the Magician's Skull magazine. So we have a nice full color section of his artwork that has reproduced as large as we could get away with, and I think it's probably 8 or 10 pages worth of imagery and interview with him. That was it was phenomenal. It was great to ask him some of the questions that all of us want to know the answers to.
Yeah, I always love hearing about the creative process of it. No matter what it is. At Origins, Doug and I sat down. Like I sat down to Doug while he was actually waiting for you guys to show up for the artist thing. But we got to talk about like his process of like how he works on stuff as compared to like how I work on stuff, and the differences between working with writing and art and stuff. And that was quite quite interesting. Like Doug and I have had these conversations before, but so it's always nice to kind of revisit that with him. And speaking of process, there's an interview with the mask maker The artist who has done the now 3 masks for Goodman Games, and I really enjoyed that, because that's like that whole process is something which I know absolutely nothing about before I read that. So I mean, being able to read, and like the interview with her when she was talking about this is how I basically make these things from scratch, and like the whole process of that, I found that absolutely fascinating. And no, not those kind of masks, the cool kind of masks, the masks you actually want to wear and scare the neighbors. So that was really fun. And then of course with Ken Kelly's passing this year, we had to do a retrospective with him as well. And so showing off all the great art that he has done for Goodman Games down the years too. So it was it was a good a good I think those are like the highlights, but at the same time there's so much other stuff in there that I mean you can just look at the photos for forever.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's a great one on the cover that's kind of this panoramic shot of down in Lucas Oil Stadium, and shows fans and gamers and vans and artists. It's amazing. And probably if you went to Gen Con last year, you're probably in that photo, because it's so enormous.
Whether you wanted to be or not,
Right.
you have to get a magnifying glass out to find yourself. But speaking of vans, I almost forgot that we have
That's right, yeah.
the Doombeard himself. So Wayne talks about the whole process of how we converted a mild manner van into a wizard van. Some great photos of behind the scenes of him doing like all the work on that, and as a special bonus, we actually statted up Wayne as Doombeard, and we statted up the van for DCC. So so if your player is ever in trouble, a dimensional portal may open, Doom van may arrive, and Wayne may come out with his nail gun and save you. And then take you for a ride in the Doom van into the wizard van somewhere else. So yeah, we can't. It was a great idea by Lester Portley. Said we should stat up Wayne. So we did it. So
I heard that might be based on a true story, that Wayne actually did save Lester one time with a nail gun. I can't confirm that, Mike.
Would not put it out of the realm of possibility. No.
If there's anyone that I'd like on my side on a nail gun fight, it would totally be Wayne.
Yep.
I'm in agreement. Even without the wizard band.
Right.
So that's like a really in-depth look at the content we have. So what do you guys like, out of all that, you guys have a favorite section that you're glad we finally have put this in now in the rear view mirror, a mere 18
I see what you did there, Mike. Well done.
For me, it's the Jeff Easley art. We actually have several pieces. I don't know how we got them. All I know is they show up one day. The Dark Master says we have Jeff Easley art, and it's like, whoa, did it fall out of the back of a wizard van or something? Like, how did that happen? And so we've got a couple of nice pieces, and I think we put 3 in there or something like that, or 3 or 4. But we spread them out, and we're going to use, we have a couple pieces that we're actually going to use in some of our other releases down the road, but these were ones that we didn't have like an immediate use for. And when Jeff Easley art falls out of the back of a wizard van, you don't let it sit on a hard drive somewhere, you get it in a book, and that's basically what we did. So that's probably my favorite part, because I can look at Jeff Easley art all day long. I mean, it's just amazing. So
Yep, and I agree. I think that art is amazing. St. Julian's art's fantastic. Probably our wizard portraits are my favorite illustrations in the book, though, just because they're just they're nostalgic and also something new and a lot of fun. So that was great to have those done.
Yeah. No.
Last year we did monsters. This year wizards. What are we doing next year?
I know. It's like
power tools.
Do you have a favorite part, Mike?
I mean, the adventures are really good, the monsters are really good. I have to say though, I think out of the stuff that I really enjoyed the most was, as I said, was the interview with the mask maker, and just learning about that whole process of something. Anytime I learn something about something which I had no clue about before the whole process began, I always feel like I've at least justified myself, and I walk away with like my life writing elf games has not entirely been to no event. So
Sounds good. So you might need a mask made to go with your spell in the core book, if I'm not mistaken. Don't you have a mask related spell that's named after you?
Oh, yeah, actually I do. That's I didn't even think about that. That was,
Okay, cool.
you know what? I mean, I I had an event over the weekend. I got a text from my brother, who's in
Hmm.
the other room, and he's like, do you have Hell is Green and Cold on PDF? And I'm like, I have no idea what that is. What is that? And he's like, it's a story you wrote. And I'm like, no, apparently I don't. In fact, I have no memory of this. It's like something I turned into Gandalf in Moria. It's like I have no memory of this place. And then, so uh yeah, so yeah, sure.
Okay, cool.
If you work as a creative long enough, you will forget everything you've ever written after a certain point. So
Yep.
I think that's probably true.
best wizard mask. I think the Chaos Lord is just. I like it just because it is three-dimensional. More of the fact that the other one is like the other ones, they're basic, but with the tongue and all the
Yeah.
the horns and everything. There's a lot more of it. So.
Hmm. Yeah, that's fantastic for
All
sure.
right. Well, you guys have any final words to say about the yearbook, other than yearbook 2023 is already, we're already plotting and planning that.
We are. Yes, we started that in 2021, didn't we?
It feels like
I,
it.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a 2024 folder started somewhere.
I don't know how we did that, but we've
Right?
already started planning for the year, which hasn't even begun yet. But all
Cool.
right, guys. Well, thank you for coming on and talking yearbook with me for a little while. I know you've
Yeah.
got other stuff to do that Joe has you on the hook for. So I will let you go back to toiling in the salt mines, and we will be back in just a few moments with my next guest. So stick around, everybody. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to me. And joining with me this time is Marzio Machedri. Marzio, welcome back to the show.
I love being on the show, Mike. You know that. This is my favorite.
I know I had to get you back on the show because you sneaker, you settled Matt and I's, our bar tab at Origins. We went to go pay up, and they were like, your friend took care of it. And I'm like,
Come on, Mike. You know I'm good that way.
well, I figured you'd cover the seltzer, but I was going to pay for
Okay.
the quesadilla, the longest waiting quesadilla I've ever had in
Yes. If I had to pay for the amount of time it took to cook, I would have no money left.
right?
Right?
Especially with the Canadian American dollar conversion rate too.
Yeah, it's like at least $1,500 in American dollars or Canadian dollars. Sorry.
We're having you on the show tonight to talk about a couple things, but let's
Yeah.
roll right into one while it's still fresh in our memory. As we mentioned, we're going to have a new DCC adventure in the yearbook, which was written by Marzio. So Marzio, why don't you tell us a little bit about that one and get the people at home excited?
Okay, so the
You can
adventure
remember.
inside.
See discussion about stuff we can't remember because we wrote it so long ago. Right?
Yeah, well, I brushed up on it. And the reason why I do remember it, believe it or not, this is the adventure I've run the most for people. Is this one right here, because it's a nice, tight little short 4-hour window. I always fit it in on time. So all the online cons since then, at Origins, I ran it. I've run that adventure the most. And the adventure I'm talking about, of course, is When Tolls the Bell of Ruin. It is basically the premise of it is a mysterious bell tolls across the countryside, bringing with it calamity and dooms, as it should. And your task in your village to locate this bell and hopefully silence it. So the bell's located in a monastery up in the hills, and the adventure sort of begins.
and of course shenanigans then ensue.
Yeah, of course.
You have an interesting dice mechanic involved in it as well. So
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite things about it. It is I've put in a dice mechanic called the Ruin Roll. It's a Doom dice mechanic. So in essence, the players are rolling their very own ruin, which is perfect, right? That's what you want them to do. So as they progress throughout the adventure, the dice pool increases, the tension ramps up, and with each toll of that bell, something horrible happens. So
which may or may not be recognizable as the titles of the effects, depending on how familiar the judge and maybe afterwards the players are with certain musical groups that came to prominence in the 80s, right?
Right. So without spoiling too much, it's basically my response to Stranger Things, right? So something happened in Stranger Things, and I was like, you know what? Hold my beer. I'm going to do this too, kind of thing. So it's my ramped up DCC response to that.
So, yeah, and hopefully, unlike Napster, we don't get sued, right?
There's no chance. I'm friends with those guys. They just don't know it yet.
Okay, right.
Yeah, I'll buy him a chicken quesadilla at some point.
Well, don't order it from the bar, the big bar on the second floor of the Hilton.
Big bar on 2.
Yeah. All right. Well, so Marzio has stuff which is in the yearbook, but that's only a small part of what we want to talk about, because you're here because you got stuff in the works right now that that is not published but is almost ready to be. So why don't you talk about the Mighty Peasant D's Kickstarter?
Right. So there is exactly, probably at the end of the show, we're in the exact 48 hours remaining of the Kickstarter. And what it is, it's a Mighty Deeds mechanic. So it's 3 things in one, really. It's Mighty Peasant Deeds, which are Mighty Deeds geared towards your 0 level characters. And what I did is I took, it's a Mighty Deed for each 0 level, using their starting trained weapon and trade good. So yes, you can kill like a Chaos Lord with a chicken cutlet at some point. And the other part and then that is in a book form, or in what is turns out to be 96 tarot cards. So each occupation has its own tarot card with its own deed on the back. So if when you roll up your zeros or whatever, you just hand out the tarot card and you keep it by your side, your deed would be on that tarot card. The other part of the Kickstarter is Blood and Thunder, which is the ultimate guide to Mighty Deeds. So what I wanted to do is I've written so many Mighty Deeds over the years. I wanted to compile them all in one spot, and then of course include some more. So we have a total of 150 Mighty Deeds in this book, and that's basically the Kickstarter. 48 hours left.
So
yeah.
So Blood and Thunder actually it's not a sequel to Steel and Fury. It actually incorporates Steel and Fury, because that's kind of where the journey of Mighty Deeds began for you, correct? I mean, that was
right. Yeah, it's funny how that works, right? How if you start off with a single idea and you spiral into 96 tarot cards and 2 other books, but yeah, it is taking that, cleaning it up, adding more to it, adding more deeds to it, putting everything in one book, and with new art and everything that way. Yeah, that's what the Steel and Fury is, and it comes out to about a little over 150 Mighty Deeds. It might swell up even more as I go,
right.
But and the mechanic for the tarot cards, for the Mighty Peasant Deeds, it's more of a streamlined mechanic in that it's a D6 deed die. There's no adding to your 2-hit or damage roll. It's strictly to set off the deed. So, you know me, I don't like the math involved, right? I'm a geek, not a nerd. I don't like the math. So we took the math out of it. And if I could mention one thing, turns out, stop me if this doesn't sound familiar, Daniel J. Bishop wrote something, right? So it turns out in 2013, he created the Mighty Peasant Deed, which is a D6 die, and it is a peasant deed. Mine being a little different than mine, whereas mine is specifically geared to your starting trade weapon, or sort of your trade good in your weapon. His was more, used as a regular deed would be. And I've talked to Daniel since this launched, and he's all on board with my Kickstarter and all. But it's just kind of funny. Did he inspire me? Probably. Wouldn't be the first time if he did.
My favorite thing is that there was when the steam engine was under work, there were 8 people working on the steam engine independently of one another. They had no idea that they were all working on it. Just Fulton happened to get it done first. So it's just there's people are always working on the same thing, and completely without any idea that other people are doing that. It's just a matter of who kind of does it first, or who not even who does it first, who does like the biggest splash with it. So I mean,
right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's why always people are like, people say like, I have a great idea, but it's not ready yet. I'm just like, even if it's half baked, get it out there. At least this way you can lay partial claim. Like, I had this crazy idea now, and now it's just a matter of me, fine tuning it. But I can say I got into the market first. So yeah.
Yeah, that's just me for like anything I write. I'm always worried someone's gonna write the exact same thing and put it out 1 second before I do. And I don't know if that's like a crazy, unrealistic fear that I have, but I seriously sometimes it's in the back of my mind, like, man, I gotta hurry up and finish this thing because I know Michael Curtis is gonna write this in 5 minutes and set it out. It's gonna be better than mine, right?
Not these days. You're safe for that.
Oh, okay.
Shade of Icarus, Swamp Thing, Man Thing, not quite, because they both owe a deed to the Heap. So the Heap was the first shambling Swamp Thing, and so yeah, so that's the first one. No, the Swamp Thing and Man Thing are just rips off of the Heap. So Armageddon, Deep Impact, probably right. No. Or another one I was reading today was The Shallows and 87 Meters Down, or whatever it was. Those two shark movies basically came out at the same time. Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
So it's all right. So here's my thing. All right, here's my thing is that I love warriors. Like that's like I'm an old school fighter guy. Like I love but my favorite class back in BX D&D. I like because they don't have a lot of stuff to work with. So you have to be really creative to play a cool fighter. And the deed system, the Mighty Deed is like one of the perfect things about DCC for me. And so it's like, that's the cool thing that warriors and dwarves get to do. So when I heard about you have peasants with Mighty Deeds, there was a part of me which said, no.
Okay. Yeah.
That's not right. That's that's like why don't you just give them spells while you're at it too? I mean, so what was your thinking behind giving them Mighty Deeds as well? I mean, I mean, especially for someone who has been very much about the funnel should be kind of setting things up and then moving on to tell like the bigger story. It seems like you're muddying the waters a little bit.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because just okay, so when I put out my funnels or whatever, I'll always have something in there that allows you, while playing a 0 level character, to play something a little more. So you might find a prayer book that allows you to cast a cleric spell. You might find a writing on the wall that imbues your mind with a wizard spell. You might find thieves tools that allow you to make a lockpick check, right? So there's all these things built into a 0 level funnel that allows a 0 level to, or even a new player to DCC, or someone who's not used to playing a certain class, there's a chance you can test it out. You know what I mean? And then there's a thematic reason why that person would become a follower of Yulesh, the goddess of light, because they found the prayer book. But there was nothing for a warrior like that. Here is a Mighty Deed specific, only one. You only allowed one deed. It's your trained weapon, your trade good. You throw a D6 whenever you want, and if you hit that 6, then something wild goes off. If anything, you might have more people playing warriors at the end of a funnel, or wanting to at least, because it gives them an opportunity to try out the mechanic in a funnel. That's basically my answer to can never have an deed die is, in my opinion, one of the best things about DCC. You can't have enough deed die, and these are low end. You're fighting with your metal tongs or your side of beef, and then later you can do your real deeds with weapons and whatnot. So
See, now this is an idea that there was no danger of me stealing, but I'm going to throw this one out there. This one, anybody can pick up this one. If I had done something like this, I would have done specialized fumble tables for everybody's weapons. Like if you're using that because eventually you only have to come up with four results for each weapon. I mean,
Mike, I got you already, because in the deed, right? So the way I do the deeds, I do deeds Mighty Fumble, the deed, and then Mighty Critical, right? So you'll have a Mighty Peasant Fumble where you will kill yourself with your chicken cutlet in a funny and weird way. And then you have the deed that goes off, which is whatever happens. And then if you roll a 6 on the deed die and you score a crit at the same time when you roll your attack roll, then the Mighty Peasant critical goes off. And for example, like a Wizard's Apprentice, if you roll that 6, you somehow remember a spell from your master, and you shoot it off. Like you roll a D3, you can either hit a flaming hands, a force manipulation, or I think the other one's I forget. There's another one in there. Flaming hands, magic missile, force manipulation. That fires off, and then that also gives you and then when you become a wizard, if you survive, that's automatically a spell in your spell book. So I kind of got you covered on the fumbles and the crits on each one of these peasant deeds.
Because Tim L. White is thinking about the same thing. Like, what's the peasant fumble with a sheep? I was thinking chicken, but I mean,
So yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because somebody like, why is there 96 cards? There's only 79 occupations in table 1-3. It's because I made a card for each version of the farmer, the herder, and the guy who pushes the cart. Forget who he is. So yeah, the sheep does something different than the goose, who does something different than the duck. And you can die from a cart full of tomatoes different than you can from one full of corpses. I think that one of the corpses is really a zombie that comes to life if you roll a certain deed out of the cart and kills the guy for you. So yeah, everyone's going to be a little bit different, and there's 96 cards in total. And you don't need the cards. The cards are cool because they're so readily accessible. You got them in front of you. You don't have to look at a book. If you're playing a farmer with a turnip farmer with a pet goose, then I give you the turnip farmer with the pet goose card, and you go from there, kind of thing, right?
All right. Why don't you tell us about the cover art? You were telling me about that at Origins. You had a very special vision in mind for the cover art for this one.
Yeah. So I had this thing burning in the back of my head, and I contacted Del Tiegler, and his cover, I think he did a fantastic job. And I told him I wanted the cover of Conan the Barbarian poster, but I wanted him to replace Conan with a baker holding a baguette, and replace Valeria with a farmer holding a goose and a pitchfork. And he did it. I'm sure you have the promo picture to show, but he nailed it. I think he nailed it. And originally it was just going to be the cards, right? But when I seen that cover, I'm like, I have to put it on a book. So then I had him have extra art made, and so we can put a book together as well. But yeah, I thought he did a great job.
Well, I mean, you got it all together. You convinced me. Although I am, the stickler in the mud when it comes to Mighty Deeds. You have my blessing for Mighty Deeds for peasants this one time.
Okay, I'll take it, Mike. I'll take it one time, and I'll buy you another chicken quesadilla so you're on my side again.
Oh no! Now I owe you. I will order the chicken quesadilla now. So by the time Origins, next year shows up, it'll be available for you.
Yeah, we'll remind her when we come in on day 1. We'll get it by day 3.
Right, exactly. Yeah, So I know we talked about possibly you maybe make it down to GaryCon next year. Hopefully that still goes through, and then maybe get a quesadilla then, because we probably get it faster that way. So
I definitely have to do GaryCon and Gen Con for sure. I got to go to Gen Con next year for sure.
So do you have anything in mind for the next Kickstarter, or are you going to just let this percolate for a little while?
I have something. I do have something in mind for the next Kickstarter. Might be a haunted house type DCC adventure, kind of like something. It's kind of in the back of my mind. It's more than the back of my mind. I've written it and played it. It's just we'll see where it goes.
Chris, as somebody who almost became the alphabet guy for the rest of his life, you don't want to pick one thing. You just so you just don't want to keep doing Mighty Deeds. But
yeah, I don't know how many times I want to do tarot cards anymore. It kind of got crazy there, but it'll be fine.
Okay, all right. Well, any final words before I let you go?
Yeah, no, man. Kickstarter, 48 hours left. Pick up the yearbook. Because that, like I said, I really that adventure is a hit. People have fun when we play it. It's fast, it's quick. I like it a lot. So, yeah.
All right. Well, great having you on, and so we're going to take a quick break, and I will be back with my final guest, who actually may not know it, but actually has another. We just realized has another connection to the 2022 yearbook. So just stick around. Hey everybody, we are back with my final guest for the show, a face which has been on here before, but everybody say hi to Tim Schneider.
Hello everybody, thanks for having me on again.
Yep, welcome back. I mean, it was timely. because not only is DCC Day right around the corner, but you two also have something to shill. So we two great tastes that go together. We have,
Yes, exactly.
but
So lots to talk about today.
yeah, but there was something that we kind of realized when we were putting this inadvertently. Everybody on the show has a connection to the 2022 yearbook. Didn't really dawn on me until about halfway through the show, and then Tim designed one of the monsters, which is showing up in the yearbook. And,
when you were talking to Marzio, you were like, and my next guest also has like an appearance in the yearbook, and we went to the interstitial, and I was in the green room. I was like, I did a what now? When did I do that? So go ahead and take it there. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the Humming Wasp, which was originally designed for MCC, and that actually came from a throwaway line you had in the funnel that you have for in the latest print of the MCC rulebook.
Oh, in Rivers of Iron, yeah. And I think I made some like it made there was a noise, and I think the descriptive text was that it sounds like a swarm of humming wasps. And I think when you were reviewing it, you asked me, okay, well, what are these things? I said, well, it's just a throw off line. There isn't such a thing that appears in the adventure. You're like static. So I put them together, and I literally just forgot about it until you mentioned it just now. So that's very exciting.
So you have your humming wasp, and we have those for not only for MCC but also for 5e. So you can get all your humming wasp action.
Fantastic.
But humming wasp notwithstanding, we are here primarily to talk about DCC Day number 4, which is of course the every year at DCC Day we adventure kind of like the one standalone adventure, and then usually we have the adventure pack, which will have like 2 or 3 adventures in it, and the adventure pack is always free, and the DCC Day adventure is always for pay, but usually because that allows us to do cool things with it. So so this year is our DCC Day adventure is actually an MCC adventure. So why don't you give us a little the down low on DCC Denver 4 Crash of the Titans?
Crash of the Titans it is. Yes, you and I spoke some time ago, and you showed me the artwork that was going to be used for the new edition of MCC, which is also going to be released on DCC Day. The glow in the dark cover and such. And with that piece of artwork, you asked me, does this inspire you in some way, or when you see this, do you have some idea for an adventure? And I have always wanted to write an adventure where you fight a kaiju, Godzilla, or any number of the large Japanese monsters. But what I find more exciting is if you have no chance of defeating this monster. And the monsters are more or less just these forces of nature. They're almost an environmental hazard rather than anything that you can even remotely approach. So in Crash of the Titans, the players are approached by the Holy Medicinal Order, and they need a special power source that rumor and legend has can only be found in the City of Storms. So the Seekers never want to turn down the Holy Medicinal Order. You never know when that connection might come in handy. So they are given a rough map, and they go to the City of Storms, which, without going into too much spoiler territory, is an ancient city that is found in the middle of an overgrown area of Terra AD. And when the players arrive, they find that there are not one, but 200-foot kaiju that appear to be warring for domination over the zone. So the players must somehow enter the zone and explore it without getting stepped on by creatures that couldn't care less as to their presence as they wander through this incredibly hazardous environment.
Right. So as any good Godzilla or giant kaiju movie show, you're more in inadvertent danger than any actual danger, especially when they start rumbling. That's
Yeah, precisely. First of all, they truly just don't care that the players are there, unless of course the players stupidly decide to make their presence known. It's kind of like what I tell my wife whenever my wife is trying to get my attention and she begins annoying me. And I will ask her, I will say, "Do you really want my attention? I will give you my full attention. Are you sure you want this?" Same thing here. If the players, get the gumption up to start poking at anything's feet or tentacles or whatever, and they get its attention, it'll be basically like a mosquito humming around the head, uh, your head at the neighborhood barbecue. It will swat you and move on to something else.
It will quickly become Bambi meets Godzilla, isn't it?
Exactly. That would actually be on the back cover of this adventure. Just that still.
Well, speaking of covers,
Mhm.
I think this is a perfect time because this is an idea that you originally pitched inadvertently and said you had
Yeah.
like an idea for something. I said, oh wait, we can do this one better. So yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but yeah, that was just an idea I pitched off as kind of a, hey, this might be kind of neat while we're putting this together. Um, the adventure takes place, the city of storms, as I mentioned, and as the game plays. The city is broken up into, I think, either 5 or 6 zones. I don't remember off the top of my head. And
up to F, so A through F. So how many
A
that is?
through, so it is 6. So as the players are exploring, the city, there's kind of an overhead map of the city that they're exploring, and the Titans can actually move from zone to zone. So as the players move, the Titans move, and so the hazards and the dangers of the Titans are also moving. So we had this beautiful black and white, overhead map uh, that we were going to just kind of, have in the adventure. And I just suggested, and it kind of came through, but during playtesting, it was like, it'd be kind of neat if we had some little cardboard cutouts that the players could, like, either photocopy the map and then cut it out, and then a little piece of tape, you could stand it up, and then as the Titans moved, you could kind of move them from point A to point B, so that the players had a visual. And so I just tossed this out, during, I think we were at layout at that
Mhm.
point, and you took that ball and ran with it, and turned that into a beautiful inside cover image in full color, with little cardboard cutouts of the Titans that you can either cut up your adventure, and if you do that, you'll have to probably go out and buy a fresh one. So that's that kind of works out to everyone's advantage. Uh, but also, it because you have that fold out, you can, and it's detached from the adventure, as I recall.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Where this came from is that Joe and I had talked about, like, we can publish stuff like they used to do in the old TSR days where the cover wasn't actually attached to the booklet. So
Mhm.
when this was kind of the perfect storm of idea, perfect storm for the City of Storms, came together, and we're like, well, I mean, they're giant, they're 200-foot tall mutants. It's not like you're not going to know where they are, So we
Yeah.
figured if you can just lay the cover, you lay
Yep.
the inside cover out on the table, and then you have the little stand-ups, and you can move them around and be like, all right, well, where's the giant aquatic one right now? Oh,
Right.
it's eating this building over here. Okay, well, we we have to get around that. So yeah,
Yeah.
so
And it really kind of gives off kind of like almost a board game kind of vibe, because the players can say, okay, we're going to move to this zone and start exploring, and meanwhile, the judge is moving the Titans, and okay, this Titan moves to this zone, and oh heavens, it's this one moved into the zone that you're in, and now you have to deal with it. And of course, there's a table that explains what happens when a Titan is in a particular zone and what is available and not available. And heavens forbid the players are in a zone when the two Titans come together into that same zone, because, well, that's when all chaos breaks loose.
if you've ever seen a Toho movie, you know what happens when two giant kaiju like go into the same space with one another.
It is bad for everyone involved, especially the people who are only maybe 6 foot tall at max. So yeah, so that map just came together beautifully, and I really hope that really brings something to the table, so that as they play, you can actually visually see the Titans stomping around throughout the City of Storms as the players desperately try to accomplish this mission for the Holy Medicine Order.
Yeah, no, I think it all came together.
Yeah.
Any inspiration for the Giant Monster Rampage board games? Says Fancy Mustelid. No, because I've never heard of that until this exact moment. So,
I did have one of the old games back for the Commodore 64 called Crush, Crumble, and Chomp, which I think was by Epix. And you played a kaiju just basically stomping around on the city. It was kind of like Rampage, the arcade game, where you just tried to do as much damage as possible before you finally were just killed by the army.
right.
And also one thing I always thought would be kind of a neat survival game on either video games or computers. They have, you're surviving in the wilderness, you're surviving against zombies, you're surviving against environmental hazards. And I think this is only available in Japan, but there's actually a game out where you try to escape from Tokyo while a kaiju is destroying the city. I don't think it's available here in the States, but I've seen like screenshots of like, oh my, that would be just awesome. And well, now you have it for MCC.
Right, and who knows? This is the sort of thing in the 2023, 2024 yearbook. Somebody might come up with, because we did with the pits of lost Agata. We basically had a board game. Though we might expand on this idea. So. Who knows? That's kind of the craziness which has come up to. I mean, I never had it, but I knew there was the Gamma Marauders game from TSR back in. I never, which one I always thought was. I just remember there being like a kaiju penguin or something. I just remember seeing the art. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, but anyway, so that's only half the reason we're going to talk to you tonight, because you also have something in the works right now. You have something independently.
Yes.
Kickstarter. Why don't you tell us about that too?
Okay. As well as writing adventures for Goodman Games, and I have 3 MCC adventures thus far, 4 if you count the one in the rulebook. I also have produced MCC adventures on my own through my, let's call it, publishing house, The Savage Afterworld, which is named after my an old blog that I used to have. And so, I've produced Dead in the Water, which was my funnel. Then The Desk in Room 810, which was my first level adventure. And currently on Kickstarter is my second level adventure, which is titled Phage from Below. And it is currently 4 days left in the Kickstarter. And so this is an adventure I've written some time ago, and I've played it at conventions, and I've play tested for years. And I'm finally, putting it down officially and into the hands of everybody. Right now, I ran a Kickstarter not too long ago for an RPG that I wrote called Phi I Say, which was a comedy parody RPG, and I tested the rewards level as having one reward level, which was $5. For $5, you get the PDF, as well as a at-cost print POD coupon through DriveThruRPG. So for $5, you get the PDF, and that's it. But if you want it in print, you pay $250 and shipping, and you get it in print. It costs, and I get nothing else from that. So that worked out so well, I decided to do it for this adventure. So same kind of thing. The adventure is $5. It'll be about 16 pages with the same upstanding layout and writing that you've come to expect from myself, as well as plenty of artwork that's been done by a good friend of mine, Aaron Seidel, who did the covers for both Desk and this one, as well as all of the interior artwork. So anyway, yeah, I'm very happy to finally get this out. And as far as what the adventure is, the Seekers have discovered another village nearby called the Village of Sweet Seed, and they're kind of a cultivating kind of community. And so your elders have asked you to step into the role as diplomats and see if you can open up some kind of trade relations between the two villages, kind of form that kind of relationship. And while the players are there on a diplomatic mission, there is a horrific outbreak of a disease called the Crimson Crust, that seems to start running rampant through the village, and so it is up to the players to try to stop this ancient illness, as well as salvage any relationships they might have with this new community.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean,
I blather on.
no, I was just saying, when has a diplomatic mission ever gone wrong, right? You know, it's like
Never. Diplomacy is always straightforward. There's never any hiccups.
So of course it is then up to the seekers to seek out where the crust comes from.
Where did it come from and how to stop it. And
the business shenanigans ensue. Right?
Shenanigans, always shenanigans. So of course they are sent to an ancient ruin, which is actually, without giving too much away, kind of a research facility. And this research facility was still active during the Great Disaster, and was working toward thwarting the outbreak of mutations and genetic aberrations that were starting to break out. So the characters, the players, who may or may not be mutants themselves, have to walk into the belly of the beast to try to find a cure for this horrific outbreak.
Right. And Arlani, that was a diplomatic mission I was thinking of. All right, so you have 4 days left. Tim, thank you for posting the link in the chat there. So if anybody who says interested and has $5 burning their hole in their pocket, you can't go wrong with that. I mean, you know, that's.
I think right now it's close to maybe $50 away from being fully funded. So I'm hoping that comes through in the next couple of days. Well, and if it doesn't, I'll find out some way to put it in your hands.
Well, I think you're now down to $40. Make that 35. Oh. we make fun in real time. No.
Exactly.
All right. Okay. Well, I wish you the best of luck, and I'm sure in the next 4 days you'll pick up another $30. If you
I really hope so. If not, that will just be emotionally crushing. So please give.
We're $28 away now. So, all right. All right. Well, thank you very much, Tim. I wish you best of luck, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again in the future about something else. Because
so. I'm always available. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Well, so we're going to take a quick break, and then I will bring back to sum up. No, there's too much. I will sum up about what's going on. So just stick around and be right back. All right. Hey, everybody. It has been a great show. Thank you. I want to thank all my guests for showing up here tonight and spending an hour with me, an hour with you, talking about things DCC, and in this case, also 5e related. So a lot of good stuff is in the works for the future. But let's start things off with the linebacker in the room. That is X-Crawl Classics, baby. I promised you when I took this job that it was coming, and it took a while, but it's finally here. We are 2 days out from the launch of the X-Crawl Classics Kickstarter, which is going to be this Wednesday between 12 and 2 p.m. Eastern time. We are going to have the X-Crawl Twitch launch party. So if you're not doing it anything during those 2 hours, stop by the official Goodman Games Twitch channel, hang out with Brendan LaSalle, Joe Goodman, and I, and we'll probably have a couple other special guests coming. We are going to launch the X-Crawl Kickstarter. We're going to sit there and we're going to watch the money tick up, and we are just going to talk and hang out, and by all means, if you sit in a cubicle at work, and put the volume down real low, and you can watch us. There'll be shenanigans. I'll do so. So finally, it is going to come. We have had so many great plans for this. So much stuff. This is going to be a tremendous. Well, theoretically, have a 2-hour block, but if we get talkative, who knows? we were talking today. There are some launch parties which go 48 hours, but I don't think we're going to do that. But who knows? Right now, we have 2 hours of the plot. What's your DCC DJ name, Mike? All right. Well, see, I have one which is in the works right now. No, so actually, I have DJ Grimm, which actually comes from something which was given by Bruce Cunnington when I was when he drove me to the airport. He handed me this awesome set of miniatures, and it got the thing going. So we're gonna be doing some stuff about that in the future. There may be an X-Crawl adventure in me, but we could talk more about that Wednesday from 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, only here on the official Goodman Games web channel. So, speaking of hanging out with Goodman Games people, you may have heard this, but if you are in the Fort Wayne area, we are looking for people to work at our warehouse. We are establishing the Goodman Games distribution stronghold of evil. You heard it here first in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So we are currently looking for people to work in warehouse positions. So if you have ever wanted to hang out with the Goodman Games people, I don't know why, but you can find all the information about the Goodman Games website. You can go on there and figure out where to send your CV and maybe get an interview. And this time next year, you could probably say, "Hey, I'm a member of Goodman Games." So should have come to Utah. Well, I mean, we got to go where we got to go. So so speaking, this is DCC Day this month, but Free RPG Day was not too long ago. And all those leftovers are going to be hitting the Goodman Games website they're going to be hitting the online store for purchase. So if you missed out on Free RPG Day for whatever reason, your friendly local store didn't have it, or they sold out of everything, we will be having those available in just probably about 2 or 3 weeks. So keep an eye out on the Goodman Games website, the social media, and all the rest of stuff. We will be announcing that. It's your chance to pick up some awesome free RPG Day stuff. And while you're there, you may want to pick up another cool things too, because we sell cool stuff. Last thing I heard. No. So those of you who are going to make it to the greater Indianapolis area, if you're going to Gen Con this year, we're going to be back. We're going to have even more bigger presence as usual. The Wizard Van, I believe, will be back. The Ziggurat will be back. We will be selling, we'll be selling the yearbook. The yearbook will be there. I think Elena is putting together the Twitch channel, because we have actually a special booth this year. We were not going to be in the secret underground layer with the train that goes by every 30 minutes. So we so, as she chimes in, she is. So we'll be having exclusive Twitch channel content all during the course of the con. So if you can't make it, if you're stuck at home, you can still tune in, be part of the fun. So we're looking forward to that. So yeah. Also coming up next month, we are going to be we have coming up for good, because we have our new sets of dice. We're going to have 2 sets of evergreen dice. We're going to have the Mighty Dice of Arms and the Mercurial Magic Motes. These are going to be our 2 new dice sets from Impact Miniatures. Standard stuff, 14 dice set with the insert and everything. But these are the ones which are going to be always available. You're going to be able to get these always available through the Goodman Games site. So so if not one of those, we're going to cycle them out. We'll have the other new dice, but these ones are going to be our evergreen set. So those are coming in the near future, and there will not be a D11 in those, however, because we'd have to shoot the price point up on that. We're just trying to make this accessible, and the D11 came after we wrote all the content. So we're not going in there and fixing the insert. But that's pretty much it. The smoke test for DCC 100 just went out to backers a couple hours ago, so keep your eye on that. And if you did not see the smoke test, you after we make sure everything is okay, you will be getting a link to the backer kit, so you will be able to finalize shipping on the DCC 100, which means that it is we're getting there. We're going to be hitting people soon, and so. I think that's about it for stuff that's on the horizon. Obviously we've got some other stuff working on on the sidelines, various Kickstarters for the future in the works, but I can't say too much about that right now. So that's it. So I think this is a good time to wrap it up for July. We will be back next month as always. We'll be back on August 14th, however, because the first Monday in August we will be in Gen Con. We're doing Gen Con, and then immediately after that, I will be on vacation from Gen Con. So, all right. So thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks again for my guest. Thank you, Elena, for doing all the hard work behind the scenes. And until I see you, everybody, stay awesome. All right, we're out of here. Bye.